Okay, we're just going to do straight reading from here on out, but we got to finish this up.
Yeah, because I still wanted to break it down for in hours, remember?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, let me just start, just read it.
Okay.
And Shechem the son of Hamor, the prince of the land, was also standing there to see them. And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Yahuah, sitting with her mother before the daughters of the city, because both Leah and Rachel were there. And Shechem, where we at? And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Yahuah, sitting with her mother before the daughters of the city, and the damsel pleased him greatly. And he asked his friends and people, saying, Whose daughter is that sitting amongst the women? Whom do I not know in this city? And they said unto him, Surely this is the daughter of Yahuah, the son of Isaac, the Hebrew, who has dwelt in this city for some time. And when it was reported that the daughters of the land were going forth to rejoice, she went with her mother and maidservants to sit amongst them, as thou seest. And Shechem beheld Dinah, the daughter of Yahuah, and when he looked at her, soul became fixed upon her. And he sent and had her taken by force. The operative word here now is by force. And Dinah came to the house of Shechem, and he seized her forcibly, and laid with her, and humbled her, and he loved her exceedingly, and placed her in his house. So we see forcibly, he seized her, and she is now in his life, in his house, and it says that he loved her. This is the reason why I had brought up earlier. Can a woman love a man that forces her to have sex with him, seizes her, and keeps her in his house? Okay, great. We're all on the same page here. Verse 12, and they came and told the thing unto Jacob, and when Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled his daughter, Dinah, that word defiled is going to be very important, Jacob sent 12 of his servants to fetch Dinah from the house of Shechem, and they went and came to the house of Shechem to take away Dinah from there. And when they came to Shechem, Shechem went out to meet them with his men, and drove them from his house. And he would not suffer them to come before Dinah. But Shechem was sitting with Dinah, kissing and embracing her before their eyes.
Wow.
I
just said wow.
Yeah. So I just found this interesting. Verse 13. So Jacob sends men to go get Dinah. But when they get there, Shechem meets them with his men. They drive the men away, but they see now Shechem kissing and embracing Dinah. Okay, now prior to this, he's now expressing to us that he loves her. All right? Keep that in mind. And the servants of Jacob came back and told him, saying, When we came, he and his men drove us away. And thus did Shechem do unto Dinah before our eyes. And Jacob knew moreover that Shechem had defiled his daughter. But he said nothing. And his sons were feeding his cattle in the field, and Jacob remained silent till their return. And before his sons came home, Jacob, watch this now, verse 16. And before his sons came home, Jacob sent 2 maids from his servants' daughters to take care of Dinah in the house of Shechem. I found that strange. Shechem is a prince. He is named after the city. His father is a king. Jacob is a sojourner in the land of Shechem. Does Dinah needs servants from her father to take care of her if Shechem is a prince? Found it interesting. We're going to read on because we're going to be investigating some things here. To take care of Dinah in the house of Shechem and to remain with her. And Shechem sent 3 of his friends to his father Hamor, the son of Chadasha, the son of Perez, saying, Get me this damsel for a wife. So, yeah, intercourse with her. He loved her. He now wants to do a marriage with the woman. Now, he's a king. He's taken Dinah. He has an army. He has intercourse with her. I guess he has a change of heart. So now he wants to go through this ritual of marriage. So he tells his father to go to Jacob and to arrange a marriage. I'm just trying to make sure that we're understanding the story correctly. Because if I'm a king, if I like a woman, I'm going to take the woman. I don't need to ask nobody for anything. Nothing. Usually what happens in rape cases is that it's an act of, the man wants dominance. You know, it's an act of, I want authority over you. I want to submit you. It's not an act of love at all. Rape is not love. It just isn't. It's a violent criminal act. Criminal act. So I'm finding things a little strange here. Well, Dinah was defiled. Okay, I'm not arguing that. Now I'm going to read on. And Shechem said it to him, verse 17, and Hamor the son of Shechem, the Hivite, he's a Hivite, which is important now, he's a Hivite, he came to the house of Shechem his son, and he sat before him. And Hamor said unto his son, Shechem, is there no woman amongst the daughters of our people, the Hivites, that thou would take a Hebrew woman who is not of your people? So everybody was about marrying their own people. And Shechem said unto him, her only must thou get for me, for she is delightful in my sight. I'm just noticing this conversation here. For she is delightful in my sight, and Hamor did according to the word of his son, for he was greatly beloved by him. And Hamor went forth to Jacob to commune with him concerning this matter, and when he had gone forth from the house of his son Shechem, before he came to Jacob to speak unto him, behold, the sons of Jacob had come from the field, and soon as they heard the thing that Shechem the son of Hamor had done, the men were very much grieved concerning their sister, and they all came home fired from anger before the time of gathering in their cattle. And they came and sat before their father, and they spoke unto him kindly with wrath, saying, surely death is due to this man, which is Shechem, and to his household, because Yahuah Elohim of the whole earth commanded, watch this now, he commanded Noah and his children that man should never rob, nor commit adultery. And behold, Shechem hath both ravaged and committed fornication with our sister. And not one of all the people of the city spoke a word to him. Surely thou knowest and understandest that the judgment of death is due to Shechem and to his father and to the whole city on the account of the thing which was done. So their brothers are looking, they want to destroy the whole city.
More,
yes.
Just for the sake of viewers, because they might not have this, we said that it spoke to him kindly. It was spoken to him kindled with wrath.
Okay, where we at? Verse what?
Verse 21.
Verse 21. Okay.
Yeah, it's kindled with wrath.
Okay.
Just for the sake of people viewing, they might not have it.
Oh, okay, got you. All right. We stopped at verse what? 20. Verse 24, is it?
To 23 now.
Okay. And while they were speaking before their father in this manner, on this matter, behold, Hamor the father of Shechem came to speak to Jacob the words of his son concerning Dinah, and he sat before Jacob and before his sons. And Hamor spoke unto them, Hamor is the father, saying, the soul of my son longeth for your daughter. I pray you, give her unto him for a wife, and intermarry with us, which is a no-no. We don't intermarry with Hittites. Give us your daughters, and we will give you our daughters, which is a no-no. And you shall dwell with us in our land, and we will be as one people in the land. For our land is very extensive, so dwell you and trade therein, and get possession in it, and do therein as you desire, and no one shall prevent you by saying a word to you. Watch verse 26. And Hamor ceased speaking unto Jacob and his sons, and behold, Shechem, his son, had come after him, and he sat before them. And Shechem spoke before Jacob and his sons, saying, May I find favor in your sight, that you would give me your daughter, and whatever you say unto me, that will I do for her. This man was in love. He loved himself some Dinah. I mean, bro, he was like, anything that you ask, I give it to you. I gotta have this woman. I want this woman as my wife. And then he gets explicit. Ask me for abundance of dowry. Whatever it is that you want, any gift, I will give it. And whatever you should say unto me, that will I do. And whoever he that will rebel against your orders, he shall die. Only give me the damsel for a wife. This dude got it bad. And Simeon and Levi answered Hamor and Shechem his son deceitfully, saying, all you have spoken to us, we will do for you. And behold, our sister is in your house, but keep away from her. No having sex with her, no intercourse, but keep away from her until we send to our father Isaac, because at this time Isaac is alive, Isaac concerning this matter. For we can do nothing without Isaac's consent. For we know the ways of our father Abraham, because Abraham also taught, remember, when he sent Eliezer, he told Eliezer, do not give my son to any of the Canaanites. Hivites are part of the Canaanite nations. Don't marry those people, man. Leave them alone. And when Shechem, verse 33, that's where we at, right? 33? 34?
No, you never read 31. Now we're on 31.
30, 31?
31.
For he knoweth the ways of our father Abraham, and whatsoever he saith unto us, we will tell you, we will conceal nothing from you. And Simeon and Levi spoke this unto Shechem and his father in order to find a pretext to seek counsel what was to be done to Shechem and to his city in this matter. And when Shechem and his father heard these words of Simeon and Levi, it seemed good in their sight. And Shechem and his father came forth to go home. And when they had gone, the sons of Jacob said to their father, saying, behold, we know that death is due to these wicked ones and to this city, because they have transgressed that which Yahuah had commanded unto Noah and his children and his seed after them. And also because Shechem did this thing to our sister Dinah in defiling her. For such vileness should never be done amongst us. Now therefore, know and see what you will do, and seek counsel and pretext what is to be done to them, in order to kill all the inhabitants of the city. Okay, because they're actually now protecting their sister's virginity. Right. It's not a bad word. It's not a bad word, all right? And if they consent to do this, well, in verse 37, it's Simeon said unto them, here is proper advice for you. Tell them to circumcise every male among them as you are circumcised. And if they do not wish to do this, we shall take our daughters from them and go away. Now, it's a custom for us. We always talk about them being circumcised, so they're telling these Hittites here that they must be circumcised. Are women supposed to be circumcised? Can women be circumcised? This is a question. No. Think about it real good. Can a woman circumcise herself?
In a heart?
There you go. Circumcised in heart. That's the only way that Sarah was able to have children, because she was able to have children. She was able to have children when she had the circumcised heart. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Because remember, Sarah had said that the father had stopped me from childbearing. That's what she said. All right, we'll talk about that later. Okay, verse 42, no, 39? 38. I'm going too fast, huh? And if they consent to do this, and we'll do it, then when they are sunk down with pain, we will attack them with our swords, as upon one who is quiet and peaceably, and we will slay every male person among them. And Simeon's advice pleased them, and Simeon and Levi resolved to do unto them as it was proposed. And on the next morning, Shechem and Hamor and his father came unto Jacob his sons to speak concerning Dinah, and to hear what answer the sons of Jacob would give to their words. The sons of Jacob spoke deceitfully to them, saying, We told our father Isaac all your words, and your words pleased him. But they didn't talk to Isaac. But he spoken to us, saying, Thus did Abraham his father, commanding him from Elohim, the Father of the sovereign of the whole earth, that any man who was not of his descent, that will wish to take one of his daughters, shall cause every male belonging to him to be circumcised, as we are circumcised, and then we may give him our daughter forever. Now we have made known to you all our ways that our father spoken to us. We cannot do this of which you spoken to us, to give our daughter to an uncircumcised man, for it is disgrace to us. For herein will we consent to you to give you our daughter, and we will also take ourselves to your daughters. We're not supposed to do that. And will dwell among you and be one people as you have spoken. So no. If you will hearken to us and consent to be like us, to circumcise every male belonging to you as you were circumcised. And if you will not hearken to us to have every male circumcised as we are circumcised, as we command, then we will come to you and take your daughters from you and go away. And Shechem and his father heard the words of the sons of Jacob, and the thing pleased them exceedingly. And Shechem and his father Hamor hastened to do the wish of the sons of Jacob. But Shechem was very fond of Dinah, and his soul was revered to her. And Shechem and his father Hamor hastened to the gate of the city, and they assembled all the men of the city, and spoke unto them the words of the sons of Jacob, saying, We came to these men, the sons of Jacob, and we spoke to them concerning their daughter. And these men will consent to do according to our wishes. And behold, our land is great for them, and they will dwell in it and trade in it, and we shall be one people. We will take our daughters, and our daughters we will give to their wives. So I just want to speed it up here a little bit. So we pretty much got the gist of this. The story also goes now where the whole thing was done in deceitful on both sides. It talks about when Dinah had heard a conversation that went on between Shechem and Hamor and the grandfather, and they wanted to eventually kill them off anyway and everything like that. And Dinah, she sent one of the servants now back to Simeon and Levi, her brothers, and they eventually said, we're going to kill them off and everything like that. So that's pretty much the gist of the story. They killed everybody there. So right now, based upon the book of Yashra'al, I have no problems with reading it this way, that she was actually raped. But when I read it from the Septuagint, it's worded a little bit different. It is mentioned in our books that it talks about the book of Yashra'al. It also makes mention that there are a couple of books of Yashra'al. Which one is authentic, they don't know, but this seems to put a lot of things in perspective. It does. I know that when the Mashiyach is speaking, he talks about the two witnesses, Moses and Elijah, and he talks about the writings of Moses. I'm going to have to go into this a little bit later in detail, because it talks about certain things here, which challenges this story here a little bit. I just wanted to make known, and we'll be done with services today. It's making mention in the Septuagint. It's read like this. And it's pretty much the same way in the King James Version, but things change just a little bit. It says that Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob, went forth to observe the daughters of the inhabitants. But here it has, in this book here, the Israelite Samaritan text, it made mention that Dinah prepared herself. And she prepared herself for a particular type of dance. This was a festival. Anybody know what type of festival that this might have been that Dinah was attending? She was attending what we now know today as Carnival, Mardi Gras. This is what the women were dancing and rejoicing. And so, if anybody's familiar with carnival, I saw some pictures of carnival and how the women are actually dressing, where there was about 3 or 4 women. They had absolutely no clothes on. But what made it look like that they had clothes on is that the body paint that they had on. I know now they have a tradition that they wear a lot of beads, or the person give them beads, and when you give them the beads, the woman's supposed to lift up her blouse and all this other stuff.
Mardi Gras.
Yeah, Mardi Gras. Yeah, they do all this stuff like that, the carnival, the Mardi Gras, and things like that. So it is a place where illicit sexual behavior is done. It is off the chain here. And to prove that, if you were to go to the book of Joshua, the 18th chapter, verses 13 and 14. Can you read that for me right quick? We're going to speed this thing up. We're going to try to get this thing done in 10 minutes. The book of Joshua, the 18th chapter, verses 13 and 14.
The book of Joshua, chapter 18.
Yes.
You said 13 and 14.
Right. These are Canaanites now. Read on.
And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times in the year.
Right. These are festivals. Read on.
With their wives and children, and all belonging to them. And they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. And at the time of rejoicing, they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives. And some, the virgin daughters of their neighbors.
Wow.
And they enjoyed them. And each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word.
Wow. So this was a festival that they did 4 times a year. These are Canaanite traditions. So we have Leah, Rachel, and Dinah now going to now these type of events. All right? Now, Israel, before we came out of Egypt, we was also involved in the same thing. Go to the book of Deuteronomy. I think it is the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Exodus 32 and 6. Somebody can read that for me. We're going to really, really speed this up. We're done. 32 and 6.
Deuteronomy 32 and 6.
Uh-huh.
Do ye thus requite Yahuah, O foolish people, and unwise? Is not he your father that hath brought you? Hath he not made you and established you? Is that
reading from the Septuagint?
No.
Exodus 32 and 6.
Oh, you said Exodus.
Right.
I'm sorry. All right. Exodus 32 and 6. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play. And Yahuah said unto Moshe, Go, get thee down, for your people which you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy powers, O Israel, which have brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
Right. When you look up that word play, it's the word rivalry. And the word rivalry means to participate in illicit sexual behaviors. They had a bunch of orgies, is what they did around this golden calf. So what I'm trying to share now is that this rising up early, playing music, rejoicing and dancing, these were all illicit, sexual, freaky, geeky stuff that Israel was doing. And Dinah, her mother, and Rachel now, they went down and actually participated in that, not participated, they went to view in this stuff here. This is the thing. If you're going to take your Isha to Carnival and Mardi Gras, and you already know what they do there. So if a man comes by and touches her inappropriately, what's now your issue and your problem?
That's your fault.
Yeah. So how can you, I mean, really? So we got to learn how to separate ourselves now from those things there. And they didn't do that, and so now Dinah now, her name means judge, and she didn't make right judgment in this situation about and being involved in that type of situation. So again, this whole thing now is about protecting the virginity. All of us. We have to all protect our virginity. All of us. Because now that the Mashiyach has died and he's resurrected now, and we're now new beings in the Mashiyach, we have to protect ourselves.
And you know what, Moray, you know, like how the scriptures say, there's nothing new under the sun? Because now, these things are happening now where guys are taking their girlfriends to the strip clubs with them.
Oh yeah.
They go as couples to the strip clubs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They say they want to enhance their sex life.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's crazy. It really is. And then ending, Mr. Carter, because this is a whole lot, but we'll talk about that later. He made mention of Shalem. Okay, and we all know that in the book of Josephus, the name before Jerusalem got the name Jerusalem. It used to be called Salem or Shalem. It makes mention of Shechem, and everybody we had talked about before. I'll just do this real quick, and we'll be done. This whole location is very important. Remember in scripture in the book of John, the 4th chapter, talks about a parcel of land. We talked about this before. We talked about two mountains. One mountain was called Mount Ebal. The other mountain was called Mount Gerizim. Okay, when we were in Egypt, because this whole thing now is centered around a location, Shechem. And Shechem was the name of a Hivite king. So we talk about location. It's very important. Now, but in John the 4th chapter, the Mashiyach is speaking to the woman, the woman at the well. When Joseph died, because he died in Egypt, Joseph said, listen, when I die, take my bones and bury them now in the promised land, in Israel. Now, in John, the book of John, the 4th chapter, let me just read it because I just want to make sure. So I want to finish this up. This is going to take 5 minutes, Mr. Carter. We're done. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. John, the 4th chapter. I'm looking at now the 5th verse. It says, then come he, which is the Mashiyach, to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar. Sychar is the name of the city, near a parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. So Jacob is the subject here. So there's a lot going on here. This parcel of land is called Sychar, and the word Sychar now is actually Shechem. Shechem. The Mashiyach now is in this valley called Shechem. Mount Ebal means mountain of the curses. Remember, I said before you life and death, the blessings and the cursing, and when Israel was about to go into the land, well, we already had crossed the Jordan, and we're now in the land. So we have Northern Kingdom speaking to the Mashiyach about Mount Gerizim. This is where Northern Kingdom worshiped at. Everybody knows that Southern Kingdom worshiped at Jerusalem, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Shechem, this is where Joseph's bones were buried at. The Mashiyach is here, between these two mountains. The word Gerizim means to cut off, or a people that is cut off. So, Northern Kingdom was cut off, right? So, this is where they're worshiping at. This is Northern Kingdom. The Mashiyach is here. The word Shechem means shoulders, or the back. The Mashiyach now is doing the ministry now to Northern Kingdom Israelites, because Northern Kingdom is recognized by the house of Joseph, right? The house of Ephraim. What did you say?
Manasseh.
Not the house of Manasseh.
No, house of Israel.
Yeah, the house of Israel. Right. So what I just wanted to share, Mr. Carr, and we'll go a little bit later, more in depth, is that I found interesting that location, Shechem. And the Mashiyach here is now between two mountains, and he's in a valley, a parcel of land. And you go to Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, Ezekiel is told to go into a valley and prophesy to these bones, so that these bones may live. And we have now a people, northern kingdom, that was given a bill of divorce. And the Mashiyach now is prophesying to these bones, which is northern kingdom. The woman at the well is asking for this living water, that she might live forever. And the Mashiyach is not talking about the little water that's in the well. He's talking about the words that he's speaking that gives life. He's actually now speaking to this northern kingdom Israelite, this woman at the well. The woman then now goes to her people, which is northern kingdom. The Mashiyach now spends with those people 2 days. 2 days with these people, and scripture says now in the book of Hosea, the 6th chapter, verses 1, 2, and 3, after 2 days I will raise you up. And so now we have the Mashiyach again, speaking to the woman at the well, between two mountains, all right, because it's representing Mount Gerizim on the north side and Mount Ebal on the south side, and he's bringing the two houses together, and that's the short version of it. Okay, that's about it. Okay, because it was, it's all about location. And when I read the scriptures, I want to know location, I want to know the names. What does Shechem means? What does Dinah mean? What does Leah mean? What does Rachel mean? Because names carry, it defines the person and the character. And we know now that when Jacob was about to die, he's giving out the blessings, and that he loved Rachel so much. What he did now was that he could not give the firstborn blessing to Manasseh, because somebody needed to get the firstborn blessing, because Reuben had defiled his father's couch. So he's now disqualified. So who now picks up the firstborn blessing? Okay, because remember, he can't give it to Manasseh, but he loved Rachel so much. So what he actually did now is that he gave it now to Ephraim. Ephraim got the firstborn blessing. And we know that Judah got the scepter, and he got the rulership. And so now we have this problem now in this house here that the Father's trying to bring together again, is this division between these two places of worship. Do we worship at Mount Gerizim, or do we worship now at Jerusalem? And the Father's trying to explain to her, well, things are about to get heavy. You're not going to worship at Mount Gerizim or in Jerusalem, because eventually all of this is going to be destroyed. But the woman goes to the people of the land, her people are northern kingdom Israelites, and she begins to share with them that she's found the Mashiyach and everything like that. And we do see a revival or resurrection happening, because those people, northern kingdom Israelites, they did receive the Mashiyach. So I'm done. Any questions? I know I said a lot. And then final, I do believe that Dinah was, she was violated. The Septuagint doesn't share too much that she was literally raped. But when I read the book of Jasher, yes, she was raped. Okay, the word anah is used in the Septuagint, and the word anah has a long definition, but it also means to take a wife. That definition is also there too. And then quickly now, it also talks about lying with Dinah. And the word for lying with Dinah is what Shechem wanted to do. We have the Hebrew word called shakab. And if a man tells his Isha, listen, he said shakab to her, this means that he wants to lay down with her to have sex. But if he says, if he says shinah, that means that she wants to lay down, or he wants to lay down to go to sleep. So this word is being used